Today we're going to talk about the one budget category that can make or break any retirement budget. Any budget, really. Because the way you think about this category impacts the way you allocate money for all of the other categories. And failing to give this category enough weight has been the downfall of many a retirement plan. Hi, I'm Temi with Overthinking Retirement. And today we're going to talk about unexpected expenses, because this week 3 of our retirement, we had an unexpected expense, and boy, was it a bummer. By definition, unexpected expenses are something you can't foresee. If you knew they were coming, they would not be unexpected, but they do happen on a regular basis. The car breaks down. A crown falls out. The refrigerator stops refrigerating. The standard financial advice is to have an emergency fund. This is great advice. Everyone should have an emergency fund. The difference between having an emergency fund and not having an emergency fund is from going from crisis to crisis to actually being able to withstand financial setbacks with a fair amount of peace and equanimity. Nevertheless, I don't think that having an emergency fund is really enough. Years ago, I read a book called Debt Proof Your Marriage, and it changed my relationship with unexpected expenses. I don't know if it's still in print, but I found it really useful. The author pointed out that most unexpected expenses are in fact quite predictable. You know how long a car lasts. You know that dental work doesn't last forever. And though refrigerators at one time were built to last 30 or 40 years, that is no longer the case. Nowadays, they last about 6 to 15 years. So you can predict that at some point, you're going to need a new refrigerator. So what do we do about that? We have to make room in our budgets for these non-regular but completely inevitable expenses. They are going to happen, and if you're not ready for them, you will have spent all the money you needed to pay these expenses within your regular budget. So what does this look like for us? Well, for me, I'm an optimist. I always think projects are going to take about half the time they take, and I always underestimate the amount of money I think my life is going to cost. It's just the way I am. But that doesn't work with budgeting. With budgeting, you have to be a realist, not an optimist. And you need to be willing to cut back on your everyday expenses so that you have enough money for these unexpected expenses. So this is what this looked like in our life. Being an optimist, I figured out all of our expenses, having pared down, gotten rid of our home, gotten rid of most of the things that we needed to maintain, and living in a cabin out of the woods. And the number that I came up with was $100 a week. I figured we could live on $100 a week. But that did not cover unexpected expenses. That budget would only work if we didn't have any problems come up. But problems have come up. So full disclosure, I film these videos weeks after we actually have that budget week, because I'm a new YouTuber and it takes me a long time to shoot and edit these videos right now. I'm hoping I get better at it and I can do these faster. But for now, it can take me a week to 2 weeks just to do one video. So I have gotten fairly behind, and I already know that we are going to have a large unexpected expense coming up in one of the weekly videos in the future. So that $100 a day budget was just shot out the water, and I had to add about 20% to cover unexpected expenses. I wasn't ready for it. Hopefully, if you're making a retirement budget, you will be. You have to leave some margin in your budget so that you can pay the expenses when something comes up. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to go into debt, or you're going to have to deplete your emergency fund and then pay it back later. So the whole idea of having a line item where you're setting aside money every month for an unexpected expense is that you're paying ahead. It's going to be the same amount of money either way, but the psychological impact of having that money saved and ready for that expense versus having to borrow money or deplete your emergency fund, well, that's a much worse way to pay. So don't let that happen. So what was the unexpected expense that threw us off track this week? David got a speeding ticket. Yes, he has not had a speeding ticket for over 20 years. He is a very safe driver, but somehow he must have lost attention. He ended up going 11 miles an hour over the speed limit and getting caught by one of those traffic cameras. So that's our unexpected expense for week 3 of our retirement. Nevertheless, because there was a little bit of wiggle room in the budget, we were still able to stay on track for the week. And here are our numbers for week 3.
All right, so as usual, we're going to start with our fixed expenses, which for us works out to about $29 a day. And we'll add that into every day this week. And then we separate out our lodging expenses. We do that right now because we're only paying $16 a day when we're staying here in our RV at the campsite that we live at. And when we're staying someplace else or traveling, we don't have to pay that $16. We pay whatever the expenses at the place we're traveling to. But for now, all week we spent here, so it's $16 a day. Then on Monday, we went grocery shopping, small amount of grocery shopping for $9. And then we had an expense for YouTube, $60. That was to get a subscription to a website that allows us to download music and sound effects and things. So very necessary if we want to make YouTube videos. We also found a great deal on some shoes. So we have $14 from our clothes budget. And then after we went shopping, we went out to dinner at Applebee's. I think we had a gift certificate or something, and for that reason, it was only $27 for both of us to eat out that night. So our total for Monday was $155. Tuesday, that was the day we had our unexpected expense. We got a speeding ticket in the mail, complete surprise. That was $170, which sort of ruined Tuesday's budget day, and Tuesday came in at $215. But on Wednesday, we had no expenses other than our fixed expenses, so that was $45. On Thursday, we did our big grocery shop for the week. That came out to $132. And I don't know why, but we went shopping again, and we found a lot of great deals, so we ended up spending another $77 on clothes on Thursday, bringing our Thursday total to $254. Friday we stayed home. Saturday we stayed home. Sunday we went to the store, I guess, and picked up some things we needed. And then we had another unplanned expense this week. We needed to get a blind for our shed so that we could protect it from people looking in and seeing all our stuff. But still, even with the unexpected expense, it was only $73 for Sunday. So our total for the week came in very close to our maximum budget amount, but we somehow did not go over. Our total was $832. Our budget at $120 a day comes to $840. So we were able to sock away a little bit more in our spending bucket. We saved $8, and that brings our total spending bucket to a grand total of $644 saved.
So that's week 3 of our retirement budget. Thank you for joining us here at Overthinking Retirement. If you find this type of content helpful or you just enjoy watching it, please like and subscribe so our channel can get up and running. We are going to try and post a video at least once a week, maybe 2 if we have something fun going on. So we will see you next week for week 4 of our retirement. Until then, we'll be overthinking.